Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Molitor and Drew Dinsick, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Man, it's tough being a Niner. Holy smokes. You got to deal with the Rams and the Seahawks in your own division. You got the entire world waiting for you to tear your Achilles because of the substation next to your practice field. It's a rough deal to win 12 games, and then be drawing dead to your divisional opponent in the second round of the playoffs, and then go on and watch them win a Super Bowl in your house on your field. And then get out of bed the next day. What was the
score of that game? Wasn't that an all-time ass whooping?
The divisional game between the Seahawks and the Niners was 41-6.
Yeah.
41 points were scored by the Seahawks, not by the Niners. 6 points were scored by the Niners. It doesn't look, even though you have a generational offensive mind in Kyle Shanahan running your organization, and you're getting elite quarterback play out of Mr. Irrelevant, it doesn't matter. You don't seem to have the answer for what Mike McDonald is doing defensively. You don't have the same quality of players on your roster that the Los Angeles Rams do. So here you are on a Monday, getting featured on the Deep Dive as the third likeliest winner in your division.
Yeah, it's a weird the gap on our Mondays between the first, favorite to be bottom, or as we call it, the worst team in the division, and the third best team in the division. Biggest gap by far. We had the fun one where there was a Monday we did the Jets and Dolphins, where it's like almost equally shitty, guys. Really bad, and a long way from the Bills and Patriots. But yeah, this is a big step up, yet, as you mentioned, still kind of an afterthought in the division because of two of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, and obviously now a team that's been plagued by injuries, which luckily for them, it's the first year this has ever happened. We haven't seen this set of cluster injury for this team before, especially on the defensive side every time for the last 5 years or anything like that. Especially in a weird spot where you've lost a couple players, and then you got hurt at that position. As we mentioned in the Vikings, it's fun to have Juwan Jennings on your team if you're the Vikings, but now the backfield doesn't look as thick for the Niners there as they've lost some players, and maybe it does look thick because your newest backfill is Deebo.
How many players on this roster do you think make the Hall of Fame and when it's all said and done?
Trent, CMC,
Fred Warner,
Lenore.
Bosa? What, Lenore?
I had to throw a photo in there. Bosa close, I suppose. Purdy honestly has a case if he plays as well as he has for like 15 years and just gets like the Eli Manning, wins the Super Bowl here or there and just longevity kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kittle's close. Honestly, it's close. Your fullback.
Mike Evans is juice check. I don't think a fullback's making it. Although with the performance that Adam Vinatieri put on at the Hall of Fame ceremony, let's get some more kickers into the Hall of Fame, please.
God, that was hilarious.
That was great.
Just shat all over Belichick. What? You don't come to my thing, I'm going to be mean to you. I would be that way too.
All right. So I mean, how many was that? Like you'd say high confidence. There's like 5 Hall of Famers on this roster, or 4?
Yeah. Four, I'd say, Warner, Williams, 4. Evans, and McCaffrey.
Okay. You know what the problem is? A lot of those guys we just mentioned are in their 30s.
They're old.
They're old. Trent Williams, 30. This is his 38th season, I think. Fred Warner, this is his year 30 season. Christian McCaffrey, this is his year 30 season.
A lot of these dudes watch 9/11 on TVs at school.
Why is that funny? I shouldn't be laughing.
No, but I'm saying it's like what we did. I'm saying that these guys were, they graduated high school in like the early 2000s. There's
I mean,
there's an
Trent
age.
Williams was 1988, so he definitely was in school watching on 9/11. Yeah. Juszczyk,
Nice.
34. Kittle's 32. Sorry, Juszczyk is going to be 35. Kittle's going to be 33. Here's the other thing, though. Some of these guys like Fred Warner and Nick Bosa not coming in off of healthy campaigns in 2020. 2025. So 2026 is a question mark as far as, are you going to get Hall of Fame quality performance out of them this year, or is there going to be a step back because of the physical, challenges of recovering that level of effort? When you look down the depth chart to some of the younger guys, they're not as good. Haven't really been doing a great job of backfilling the talent on this roster. You've been picking at the end of a lot of drafts. You traded some capital to take a swing at a quarterback in, what was that guy's name? Trey Lance. You took a swing on Trey Lance. You gave away some capital to do it. That has hurt you now, and you're paying the price with the way that the roster is constructed with, this gap in talent. I don't know, man. This feels like the window's closed, and this group is going to have some awesome, fun moments, and I hope they have another playoff. Another opportunity to bet on them in the playoffs like we had against the Eagles last year, and an opportunity to bet against them when they come up against a team that can stop them like the Seahawks did. I think that kind of buy and sell of the Niners off, postseason last year was really, really fun. I'm sure I was on both of the positives of that, and I enjoyed it. I don't know. Window closed for the Niners, Andy? Substation got what it wanted.
I mean, not only closed probably for Super Bowl, but it feels like they're in that weird Steelers era where it's like, hey, there's a pretty good team and they're going to win double-digit games and they're going to make the playoffs, but the Ravens are in their division. And one year it's like, hey, even the Bengals are better than us this year. Hey, we're a good team. We're just not a great team. And because I do think it's still a very much a team that can win 10 games, a team that can make the playoffs, a team that can maybe even win a playoff game again. They won a playoff game last year. It's crazy how just the stuff gets erased from your mind. You don't remember some of the things that happened because it wasn't, ultimately the team that ended up winning it all. But yeah, they beat the Eagles in the playoffs. They had 12 wins.
Convincingly.
And we are like, hey, this team is dead. This team has no shot. It's a lot of the same roster. They brought in Mike Evans. They still have some of these Hall of Fame players. I think they have a decent chance of being a good team, but it feels like a really tough road to hoe to win this division because it's one thing you never know. All these teams that are fighting, they're a second place team and they just got to claw and scratch their way over one team. You got to claw and scratch your way over two really amazing teams. So you got to hope for some bad variance for those teams at the same time of we need everything to work out well. And here we are on August 10th of the Big 2-6, and things have not worked out well yet as far as injuries, including to your head coach, who my favorite. I mentioned this on a previous podcast. My favorite part of camp starting is you get to find out some shit that happened 3 weeks ago that nobody knew about. Actually, this guy blew his hand off on the 4th of July, or actually, Shanahan was texting and driving, and he crashed really bad, and we didn't even get to hear about it. So we'll see how that's going to affect camp. I think he's been around long enough, and he's got some assistants that have been on the staff long enough that it's probably status quo, but it's not a great way to start things. And the Ricky Pearsall injury stinks. What else do we have for substation injuries? You got a list? We shouldn't call them that. They're just regular injuries, guys.
I'm perfectly willing to embrace the idea that there's causality. I'll listen.
I don't mind a conspiracy theory that has a little bit of it isn't crazy like lizard people or aliens building the pyramid stuff really out there. This one's just
most of the defense
electrical signals going.
Most of the defense and dismissals don't really kind of actually have as much legitimacy as you would have thought. So I'm willing to listen. They were only missing 20 of 91 available players last week. That's good. Mike Evans is is perennially an injury question mark, and he's already in a little bit of a difficult spot. Stribbling, the wide receiver they drafted, is in a tough spot physically already.
Especially
Christian McCaffrey's
he had
missing
such
practice.
an opportunity to step in.
The Ricky Pearsall just being done before even taking a snap is wild. What a fuck up of the medical staff. Probably could have gotten whatever he needed done last October, and then he's primed to start the season on top, and here he is missing it all. I don't know. I think this is tough. This is tough because there's a lot of players I really like. Like I really like Fred Warner. Like I watch that guy play. Sign me up any day of the week. I love watching that guy play. Kyle Shanahan, this is his year 10. I like Kyle Shanahan as a coach. 10th year as a coach, Andy. He has a 550 winning percentage in his 150 games as a head coach. Pretty decent. 643 in the playoffs. How do you like that? 2 NFC championships, 0 Super Bowls. But it does feel like Shanahan, having had the opportunity to coach half a dozen Hall of Famers and not having a Super Bowl to show for it's kind of rough. I know he lost in overtime to the Chiefs, but do you think his window is closed as far as actually pursuing a ship?
No, it's not like he's 75 years old and has like
47.
Yeah, but he's not like Pete Carroll age. Hey, honestly, there might be do we see an Andy Reid out of Shanahan where he gets the
stop number 2, he actually gets the chip,
where it's an unconscious uncoupling. Is that a thing? A conscious uncoupling, where they say, we're just moving on after a few years, after this roster finally turns over. They do have a couple bad seasons, and he gets that second stop where it's like clearly somebody's got to grab this guy immediately. And I think that was obviously the case with Andy Reid. So I don't know. He might just be a Niner for life too. Honestly, where are you going to go find someone better?
You're definitely.
Most
of
the times when you go look at the candidates, are you going to really go upgrade from Shanahan at this point? So I don't know. It's a weird spot to be in. So,
I think what makes him such a special coach is his ability to, kind of use space and create space, and kind of put players in positions to, to get cheap extra yards. Put players in positions to make easy completions make things easier for his quarterback. I know that a lot of the way the defense is evolving with putting more and more defensive backs on the field, I think is going to kind of keep a lid a bit on what his ceiling is as far as what his effect is on an offense. Like, I'm not sure I see a world where you give him the ingredients one season of, like elite, healthy weapons in the offensive game, good offensive line, Purdy in his prime. Like, is there anything that Shanahan is doing constructing an offense that's going to basically just kind of be the reason that the Niners are the best team in football? And I don't know I think that window might be closed. He'll always be like very, very fucking good. But the idea of him being able to make the offense the reason that they're the best in football, I think I'm worried that the way things have evolved with extra defensive backs, people basically using his tricks against him defensively, like Mike McDonald.
Well, and who's to say he doesn't have a move left in the bag too that we just because honestly the ceiling for this team is, as much as I said it was such a stopper 5 minutes ago, the ceiling for this team is winning this division.
Oh, they could win the Super Bowl this year. We would not be stunned.
so much talent on this team. I don't want it to come off as like, hey, this is guaranteed third place, because no way the Cardinals catches them, but no way they catch these other two teams. So,
dude,
all it takes
Sam Darnold could turn back into a pumpkin, and
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford could hurt his back today.
Yeah.
And then
And
all of a sudden,
I don't
this
even
is
know
the
if we-
Niners division to lose. Yeah.
We don't even need those things to happen. It just, Stafford plays a little bit down. I mean, it doesn't even have to be like a full injury, missing the season. Just a little regression by a couple teams, and you run hot for a little bit, and yeah, you can win this division. You have plenty of talent. Like we mentioned, you have Hall of Famers on this roster. Shanahan's an incredible play caller, and Purdy's been highly efficient in his short career so far. So it's a fun team. Let's get a little into the offseason here, unless you have anything else to say.
Speaking of Hall of Famers, John Lynch a Hall of Famer?
He might be already.
I don't think he is. Let me see.
Should be.
Two-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, Pro Football Writers of America Executive of the Year 2019. He is
was
in the Pro
elected
Football
in
Hall of Fame.
2021.
How about that? So Hall of Famer John Lynch, what kind of grade do you give him for the way he handled the offseason here? C.
Like the Evans thing is fun from this guy's so good when he's healthy, but at the same time, you added to your problem. Like you're already old. Like
You brought in an old fragile piece. Yeah.
You brought in another old fragile piece. I don't mind the Dre Greenlaw signing. So you re-signed Dre Greenlaw.
I didn't have him graded especially well last year.
Good against the run.
See.
In Denver. I think he only played 10 games.
I had his run grade. He was like kind of the weak link on Denver's defense last
which
year.
is, like, hey, guess what? Like, I'm the worst supermodel.
That's fair.
He's still pretty good. Evans, as we mentioned, is a bit of a risky play. If he plays good, it's a boom or bust kind of thing. He plays 3 games or he scores 15 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel just resigned because of not only the personal knee, but we got to mention Kirk's calf. So he needs to let's get some healthy bodies in this room. Osa Odigizua.
That was nice.
Dallas.
Move.
That's a nice.
I had him rated
pass
well.
rusher. He played. He was healthy last year, and you get some nice interior rush next to Bosa. I mentioned Christian Kirk and his calf. He is over from Houston. I think he missed time there too, though. I think I'm not sure he played a full season down there. I'll have to double check that, but either way, he did like right away in camp. I think maybe day one. Hey, my calf is shot. We'll see how that progresses. I don't have a timeline in front of me. What do you have for him?
I don't have it.
I'll have to double check that. I usually have that written down. I'm sorry. Nate Hobbs, guy that we brought up as it's going to be what fixed the Green Bay secondary. He did not fix the Green Bay secondary. He's another one that honestly not a bad run defender as well from the slot corner, if you want to use him in that sense, but he's a decent enough piece. And we saw some pretty high end play at times when he was in Las Vegas 2 years ago. He'll be competing in that probably the nickel spot. I don't know if you have Upton Stout there or him, but he'll probably see some time. Jack Jones, I feel like Jack Jones might have been a Raider too. Jack Jones from Miami brought over another cornerback. He's probably going to be competing for some time there, but otherwise, not a lot of exciting stuff outside of Kirk and Evans, which is hurt and
hurt.
Not hurt.
Evans
not hurt
is
quite
just
yet.
a quad. I bet you he'll be fine for week 1. Excuse me, week 1.
Yeah, I guess technically
Kirk has missed 2 weeks already. He's probably not coming back for a little while. I think it's probably going to be the Deebo Samuel, Demarcus Robinson, Dejan Stribling show with Evans.
Mentioned Juwan Jennings. He was one of your big departures. He is in Minnesota. Lost him. D. Winters. He played. I mean, rotational linebacker stuff behind Warner and them. He is in Dallas. And then Robert Saleh is the Titans head coach now after his second stint there. And you also lost Executive Vice President Parag Marathe. You know who sniped him, Drew?
No.
I'll give you 32 guesses.
SpaceX.
Yeah, Leeds United.
Really?
So it's fun to mention, like a soccer team snagged one of your front office guys. He'd been there for like 20 years working on cap strategy and contract stuff. And they brought in Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah as the VP of personnel strategy. What did you think of the draft where they did not make a first round pick as they traded down for draft capital for the most part throughout the day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they got Stribling when they did.
It turns out you need a wide receiver.
Turned out you needed him. I thought that a lot of the people who are kind of now late in kind of saying stuff like Stribling, people had him as wide receiver 1 on their board is kind of insane. I would say anyone that had him more than wide receiver 5, I would be kind of surprised. But, there's a lot of really good young wide receivers in the league right now, and he looks like he could very well be one of them. You just got to stay healthy, and it's not an easy task. I thought they could have used some draft capital on the defensive side of the ball. I didn't love that their first defensive pick was a guy I did not have on my radar in Romello Height. I don't think he's really going to make much of an impact. I actually don't even think you really needed to focus on an edge player. I think Nick Bosa and Sam Okauyano graded well last year, and Michael Williams should at some point be back and be a factor. So I kind of wish they had gotten younger in the linebacker room and younger in the secondary, but they didn't use they used a 4th and 5th round pick to try to address those areas, and I don't think those guys are going to make much of an impact this year, if ever. So, it was a team that really I feel like needed to get younger, and they kind of didn't.
And it's funny, a lot of the rookies they drafted are injured as well. With the running back they took has an adductor, not ab. Those are 2 different muscle groups. Defensive lineman in the 4th has a bad knee bone bruise. The offensive lineman they took in the 4th round is in the concussion protocol. So welcome to San Francisco, guys. Sorry about your body. It's going to get hurt. And then I think it's worth talking before we move on to power ratings. Birdie's not a Raheem Morris guy. What's your Raheem Morris as he steps in to take the DC spot here? He has a big resume.
Oh, man.
But sometimes it's like, you have a long resume with a bunch of stops. And obviously, we never loved him as a head coach. I think he's better as a DC. I don't know that he's one of the best DCs. What was he before? He was Rams DC before.
He was Rams DC in their Super Bowl year, right?
Yeah. And those rosters it was a lot of, that 21, 22, 23, it was a lot of Aaron Donald and a bunch of guys at times, because if you go look back, those weren't highly graded defenses.
Right.
But you still did have Aaron Donald.
He has actually 2 Super Bowl rings. One with the Rams as an assistant coach. You know what the other one was?
No idea.
He was the defensive quality control coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they beat the Oakland Raiders back in
like 2005?
2002. Yeah.
Okay.
He's been coaching for a long time. I kind of know him mostly for his Bucks. He kind of came up through the Bucks. The Bucks kept losing defensive backs coaches to other programs who were hiring them away to be the defensive coordinator or the head coach. And then eventually the Bucks just said, fuck it, we're going to keep him around and make him the head coach. In 2009, that was a failure of a head coaching regime for the Buccaneers. Got fired in 11. Went back to defensive backs coaching for the Washington Redskins for a couple of years before becoming a assistant head coach at the Falcons. Rose through the ranks, moved to the Rams, went back to the Falcons. I don't think any of his stops, I really kind of look at what he presumably helps your coverage and your secondary.
I think he helps your pass rush. I don't have good grades. Just when I ran some stuff on him, generally run stop hasn't been great when he's putting defenses together. But we're going to run a little more of, I don't know. Morris apparently is a 3-4 base, but I think it might be more some of the wide 9 stuff where some of these edge rushers are going to have decent years. And obviously one of them needs to come back first. Mikael Williams is not going to have a good year while he's not playing, but Bosa and Mikael Williams could end up with decent seasons.
I didn't have him as a top 10. I didn't have any of his squads when he was a head coach or a DC among the top 10 in the NFL.
No, I have like basically all of it.
Yeah.
Hey, but it was never bad. It was like,
no,
hey, you're neutral. Some of those Rams teams were just it's roster based.
His Atlanta squad a couple years ago was bad, but that was personnel. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. Actually, it wasn't that bad. They were like kind of bottom.
He's a very middle of the pack.
Yeah.
You've hired vanilla guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like if Bosa plays 17 games, probably not going to matter. You're going to be fine as a defense. If Fred Warner plays 17 games, you're probably going to be fine.
Mikael Williams plays 15 or 16.
Yeah. No. So it's all kind of health question marks for me for the defense as far as being able to give you kind of a at least kind of reduces the chance that there's a trap door where people are beating you by scoring 41 points. But no, I mean, it's this looks like it's a good, not great team. And you're in a division with 2 great teams, so you're shit out of luck. But yeah, I think Hall of Famer John Lynch gets a C for the offseason and how he handled things.
All right, into the power ratings for your San Francisco 49ers. What did you do with a Brock Purdy?
Yeah,
featuring Kyle Shanahan joint.
Second best number on the board for me for QB OC combination, and it really is the synergy between the two. I think we say this every year. There's no separating them. You are coming up with the combined rating. I'm going with a 7.9. And if you flipped Brock Purdy with Jared Goff, I'm probably at a 7.9. If you flipped Shanahan with, I don't know, who's like a good, not great coordinator. Like if you put Clint Kubiak in charge of the offense here with Brock Purdy, I'm probably at like a 6.5. I don't know. I think the synergy that they are so additively positive in terms of getting a fair number that you have to be relatively high. So
one of those guys won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, sure. He sure did. Clint Kubiak has a ring. Kyle Shanahan does not. Shanahan got close with the Falcons. He got close with the Niners.
I'm at an 8. I mean, essentially the same rating here. It's and a lot of it is just the sum of the parts. Shanahan is an elite play caller, and Purdy is being pretty damn efficient and playing well within the system. I don't think we need to talk a lot about what we've seen over the past 3 years now. It's been a lot of, feels like I haven't talked about Purdy to anybody. A lot of people at Bet Bash wanted to talk football, and I've had a lot of the conversations with other people. I'm not sure I've uttered the words, Purdy at all out of my lips yet this season. So
I did in digesting the Mike Sando fairly unserious quarterback rankings. The
methodology there is
is terrible,
in my opinion.
Stupid. I think Purdy, again, you can't take him away from Shanahan and give him a number because you wouldn't want to. the game is come up with a fair for these two together. And yeah, I think you're starting with a very, very robust number, and that gives this team a potential high ceiling, which is why we say stuff like their ceiling, there's a world where they win the Super Bowl. Their skill position group currently, and maybe we'll spend a little bit of time talking Christian McCaffrey here. God damn, did he look a little washed last year to me. I know that he was like relatively high in offensive player of the year voting, and I know that his production in the passing game was like kind of insane. But I think he's on the wrong end of the aging curve, and it's pretty obvious. And particularly with what he's giving you as far as running production, it's a little bit concerning. Do you share those concerns, Andy?
He still had 1,200 yards. I don't know what to do. Like, there were plays where he looked wash, but he still had a lot of. Did he have 100 catches?
I think he did.
When you get 100, I mean, it's crazy how we're like a little.
They're force feeding him a
little. Well, no, but
129 targets. That was the biggest number in football, right?
For a running back, I'm sure, but their wide receivers get plenty more than that, obviously. So he went and had like a Marshall Faulk season, and we're calling him wash. No, I'm rejecting your theory. There were plays, Drew, yes, where he looked like, man, when he was younger, he'd have broke that or that, but they still give him enough volume, and if he's healthy, he's just gonna get 2,000 combined yards again, I bet. If he plays all 17.
Puka had 129 receptions. Your leader in targets was Jamar Chase at 185. Christian McCaffrey was top 10 in receiving targets. Man, some of these names in the top 10 are kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's the guys that get force fed because they're just going to be target monsters. So yeah, 413 touches for 2,100 yards and 17 touchdowns. I struggle to downgrade him too far. So right now, my skill position number is very much in flux over the last couple of weeks. I'm at a 5.2 because I'm assuming McCaffrey is still amazing, and he is a big part of this. And right now he's healthy because it's week 1. But I have Evans not practicing. I have Kirk with a day-to-day / week-to-week with a calf thing. I have Purcell out. I have the rookie injured. And I have Kittle out for week 1 right now. So this number, if Kittle were playing, this number is higher for me, obviously, because he's still very good, even how you feel about him and some of the injuries and age that's piled up on him. But I have Jake Tonjes starting at tight end and
caught the winning touchdown against the Seahawks week 1 last year.
Deebo on the other side. So Evans, hopefully, Deebo, likely, Kirk, maybe, probably, Jake Tonjes starting, and Christian McCaffrey in the backfield with Jordan James. And as I mentioned, Kalen Black is banged up right now. The rookie is your third string running back. So not a lot of depth at running back. And then the same thing kind of goes for wide receiver with like Jacob Cowing and Demarcus Robinson, Stribling, the rookie there as well. So Kadarius Hodge on this team.
Scott, you're close. McBride was 3rd in targets. Number 2 was Amon-Ra St. Brown, targeted 172 times. McBride 169. Puka, JSN
172 times.
Round out your top 5.
That's a pretty easy number to figure out, like, per game. That's crazy that you do.
Yeah.
Because like there's sometimes where you'll look at a receiver's stats and be like, man, they gave him 10 targets today. And it was just like, oh, that's just what you get.
They give him 10 targets every yeah.
All right, what's your skill group?
Skill group for me is a 4. It's a 4 for me. Rushing success rate for the Niners last year was pretty average. It was actually a little below average. Rushing EPA was borderline top 10, but I'm concerned about the running game here for the Niners. I'm not concerned as much about the injuries currently in the passing game. I figured they'll just make it work. But I'm also not seeing very many difference makers here. And they usually have a difference maker or two in the passing game, so we'll see. Offensive line for me is a 6.1. Most kind of broad unit rating systems that are out there have this as a top 5 to 6 O-line in the NFL. It's anchored by Trent Williams, who is a top 3 to 4 player in the NFL. Top 3 to 4 tackle in the NFL. I think Colton McKivitz is a good other tackle, right tackle, bookend. Decent
Other tackle. I like that.
decent on the outsides, weakish in the middle. Connor Colby for me is a minus. Jake Brendel and Dominic Pooney are fine, but they're not plus players. I think overall I have this as kind of like I'm like sixth best. What about you?
I'm right there. I have a 6.0. Another one where they were pretty good. Sack rate. Trent as your anchors, pretty nice to have. McKivit's a plus. Little thin along the inside with I have Colby, Brendel, and Pooney as your interior. And then a little thin behind them with Vidarian Lowe out for an extended period with some high ankle, and then that rookie that they picked up as well with concussion. So I don't think they actually have a swing tackle right now, but I think they've actually picked up a couple guys over the last few days. I'll have to double check my camp notes because I think they're a little thin at offensive line too. So the depth isn't great.
Okay. Overall, this is a 65th percentile offense for me. Good enough for about top 10 in the NFL. Defense
68th.
Nice. Defense, I have 4.5 for run stop, 3.9 for pass rush, 4.0 for coverage. So I'm not really loving these pieces, and I think it's just because there's kind of holes everywhere, and defense is a weak link system. Obviously, Diggy Zula and Fred Warner should probably get this closer to 5.0 once we see them in action, and we know that Fred Warner's full speed. Fred Warner is also kind of an awesome part of, hugely important part of the coverage at the linebacker position for them. Yeah. So I'd like to see him at full speed. The pass rush when Bosa got hurt last year was really, really, really poor. And so I don't think even with him back, you can go higher than average for that unit. But I'm curious to see where did you land on these numbers? Because this was actually kind of tough.
Yeah, they were like 32nd in sack rate and QB hit rate last year because they lost so many games. Right. Important players missed so many games. So Bosa plays well, is healthy, we're good. I'm at a 4.2, a little higher than you, but not too far off. And a lot of it was the same exercise I had to do with Buffalo. Like, hey, this was such a shit pass rush last year. But in that case, Ed Oliver played like 3 games. And same kind of thing. Same kind of thing. Bosa played 3 games. Warner played 5, 6. A lot of guys missed a lot. So 4.2 for pass rush for me. And then we're pretty close on the other ones. Run stop, I'm at a 3.8, a little lower. And then coverage a little lower as well, 3.3 as they try to sort that out back there. Higher special teams than you.
Coaching, better than average in terms of fourth down decision making. Good in-game adjustments. Good second half guy to bet on Shanahan, in my opinion. Final percentiles for you, 60th percentile. For me, 58th. That gives you a +3. That gives me a +1.2. I believe we're straddling the market here. So the market has the Niners at a 2.6. So you're a little bit more bullish. I'm a little bit cool. I feel like with a healthy skill position group, though, maybe I'm pretty much flat on,
what's your win projection right now? So I have a win projection with, obviously using strength of schedule and more of a simulation type thing. I haven't. This is fun because Rams 12.
Yes.
And then like Seattle's like 10 point whatever. And then I have the Niners at 10.4.
I have Rams 12, Seattle at 11, Niners at 10.
Yeah. It's
12, 11, 10, 11, 12. A lot of good teams. You want to look at the sketch?
Yeah.
Last year, Andy, I believe was the year the Niners got like the monster easy schedule. Am I remembering that correctly? Like it just broke perfectly for them because they had gone 6-11 the previous season. And they had the 4th place schedule in the West, and they got to play like the South in the South or something. Am I remembering that right?
I think you are. right off the bat, they
Not
will
as
be the
easy
first
this year.
team. They will be the first team to ever play 2 international games that are not in back-to-back weeks that, are just a drive away from each other or in the same stadium.
Or in Europe.
In England, yes. So
they're playing 2 international games. Neither of them are in Europe. What are the chances?
Although
I
did look up, it's about a 4.5-hour flight to Mexico City from the Bay, which it's not as far as going to the East Coast. So it's not awful, but the first one is Australia. What was it? Sydney,
Melbourne.
Melbourne. First game in Melbourne, that international game between them and the Rams. That is technically a road game.
We did get a little news on that.
Yeah, we got some news on the travel as far as they were going like way early and the Rams are going way late. Or was it the other way around?
That's correct. Rams are making the trip on the eve of the game. The Niners, I believe, are going to give themselves a week to acclimate.
So, in my opinion, I don't know that either of those are wrong, but I think one of them is worse for playing Miami in week 2.
That's a good point.
Acclimating yourself to Australian time and then having to come home and play a team that you should beat. That might be hey, I don't really need this and Survivor today kind of game where I get that they're a 10-point favorite and we just saw Miami lose week 1 to another bad team, but I don't know about this with the goofy travel spot because that's, there's 10 days there. It's a Wednesday game into a Sunday game. But still, if you're going to put me on Aussie time for 2 weeks and then go back to the West Coast, I'm going to feel a little goofy for a few days. I guess the market's assuming
cross the
that
line
3/4 of the time.
Twice.
Yeah. So weird travel spot later. That is a home. They will lose a home game for that Mexico City game, but that's a banger. And that'll be the Minnesota Vikings heading down there as well. You have a couple of early
Seattle
games
off their bye. Puke.
Love. Your home game against Seattle is kind of,
neutered a little.
Neutered because of that. Off your bye, you get a bad team. Probably at that juncture, playing a rookie quarterback. I would assume by week 9, they're wanting to get Mendoza out there. It's probably not going to be Kirk. Otherwise,
you think there's 6 wins through 9 weeks feels pretty likely to me. Is that fair?
It does feel like you're just going to lose the games you're scheduled to lose, and you should get the other wins. The Denver one,
I think you win one of Rams, Denver,
tough.
Seattle.
Yeah,
I think you win one of those 3, and it might be the Rams. Week 1. I gotta be honest. I kind of like their plan for that game. I don't think it's worth betting it right now at 3.5, even though that's a key number. I think the chances of Aaron Donald surprising the world and returning to the Rams and people getting excited and betting the Rams, you probably get 4 there. So I would just be patient, but I'm probably going to have San Francisco +4 in that game. I don't think you've solved Seattle. So Seattle's a problem. You should be fine against Denver, though. That'll be a really, really fun test to see how you go up against that defense, because Denver's a different type of defense than Seattle's in terms of the way they give you space, I think.
I'd worry about your defense there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think 6.
Have a good offensive line, and your pass rush will be stymied a bit, and you get nixed.
I think 6 wins through 6-3 through 9 games sounds right to me. 6-2, I guess, would be going into that Dallas contest. 6-2. The real interesting part of their schedule is December. After the Giants game, you get Rams, Chargers, Chiefs, Eagles. That kind of gauntlet that time of year is gonna kind of prove your mettle one way or the other. You could lose all 4 of those games and ultimately limp in or out of the playoffs with that type of swoon. But if you do well in any of those contests, I think there's definitely scope for a fifth or sixth seed, right?
Yeah. And like we said, there's a lot of wins on this schedule like that. You likely get a rookie off the bye. You get to play Minnesota in a weird spot for them as well. You get the Giants, even those road games late in the season. It's like Giants and Arizona. You should win those. You could probably, the Chargers game. That's a bit of a coin flip there too. It's not a strong home field advantage we mentioned in a weird Thursday night spot. What is that? That's not Christmas. That's the Thursday night before the Christmas stuff starts. That's kind of a banger. Niners, Chargers on the Thursday night. So
really good TNO. Oh, you got McDaniel back in town. Oh, I'm sorry, it's at the Chargers, but still, McDaniel versus Shanny is a must-watch TV. All right, let's get serious about something here. I am projecting the Niners to be the 6th seed. I think the top wild card goes to the Rams or the Seahawks. I have the second wild card right now going to the Niners, just ahead of the Cowboys. So if the play, basically if the chalk prevails, I would only have one NFC North team in the playoffs, and I would have 3 NFC Wests again, 2 NFC East. I don't think unless something happens to the other NFC West teams, I don't think the Niners are having home games.
Purdy asks, has Shanahan beaten Kevin O'Connell? Shanahan has not.
Really?
2 games, 23 and 24. 22-17 and 23-17.
That second one was very memorable. The San Francisco 49ers were in Minnesota, I believe, and they were 7-point favorites and lost outright.
Both of those games were in Minnesota. Both of them were, I think they were probably dogs in both of those. So Justin Jefferson, 97-yard pass from Sam Darnold. I want to go back and watch that one.
Okay, so if the Niners beat the Rams week 1 and then take care of business against Miami and Arizona, there's almost certainly a world where the market has upgraded them to like a +4, +5, and we think they're more like +2, +3. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So there's a world where we are selling the Niners when they're going into that Denver-Seattle stretch, and then there's a world where we're selling the Niners as they go into that Rams, Chargers, Chiefs, Eagles stretch. It's worth noting that Shanahan does have, tricks up his sleeve to handle what Fangio wants to run defensively. He doesn't have tricks up his sleeve to beat McDonald yet. Is that a fair qualifier? Flores apparently also takes his lunch money.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I think it is going to be a lot of round trips on this team this year. As far as I'm a buyer, I'm a seller. As I think there's going to be, like you said, there's going to be strong reactions just kind of based on who they play.
They're 6-2. They just beat the tar out of the Raiders. They're going at Dallas. That game, in my opinion, decides the 6-7 seed probably. Minnesota might decide a seed. Man, damn, this can be some great Niners games this year. I hope they're healthy. I really do. So what's the plan? Not touching this team?
Not right now, no.
In the futures market?
I mean, the win total is 10.5 juice to the under. Fine.
They seem kind of solid. 10 is right.
Yeah, that's good number. If you want to take the NFC West, so like 3.5. No thanks. I think there's better uses that. If you really
play on money line week 1.
Yeah, if you like the Niners that much, to take them to win the NFC at 10 or 12-1. Who wins an award on this team? I guess
Purdy's probably in the second tier of MVP candidates for me.
Yeah, he's like 20-1, and he would have to have such an amazing season, 100% healthy, 5,000 yard kind of thing.
He was close a couple years ago, man. If he didn't poop his pants on Christmas against the Ravens, he probably is. Ravens obviously were coordinated by McDonald in that game.
Kittle, Warner, and Bosa are all kind of high enough in the comeback player of the year market because they have so many comeback player of the year candidates. But again, it's not a market I'm going to probably bet into it all this year because of.
Did CMC win it last year?
Pat eating up the market. CMC did win it last year. Fred Warner, DPOI, not at this stage. Bosa maybe. Again, you're just kind of banking on him having a bunch of counting stats and mattering a bunch. Stribling is interesting, but again,
what's his price?
He's down to like 20 because
he's going to have a real role.
The injuries drove him up quite a bit. He was 60 to 1-ish.
Interesting. Well,
joint practice starts tomorrow with Robert Saleh and the Tennessee Titans coming back to town in Santa Clara. So that'll be fun.
Let's cross our fingers that the substation doesn't take Carnell Tate away from us.
Yeah. If I'm Saleh, I'd know better. Like, no, we're not going there. Hey, what if we did this?
You can come to us.
Yeah. Hey, you guys, can we use the Stanford field? What if we go play with that? That'd be fun, right? Let's get out of Santa Clara. Yeah. I know a great Vietnamese place in town. We got to get closer to it, though.
All right. Did we do the Niners justice? Why does it feels like this team doesn't really warrant a ton of introspection because I don't think that the ceiling really is there for championship, but them being out of the mix also feels unlikely. Like they just feel like a little bit of a tight, even though again, like a very fragile team, very old, lots of possibilities for injuries that could derail their season. This doesn't feel like a team with a broad distribution of potential outcomes. Is that overstating it?
Yeah.
Because like if Mac Jones starts half the games for the Niners, are you gonna go below 0 for them? Probably not, right? No. Still gonna have them beating the teams they should beat on this schedule.
Yeah, they kind of have a high floor based on the offense and how it can even work with the backup, like you said. It's probably going to come down with one of the main issues from last year was you had 0 pass rush, just fucking 0. If you go look at a bunch of the guys who actually got snaps and had a good pass rush grade, it's like Malik Mustafa and Upton Stout. Like these guys aren't pass rushers. They're just, hey, here's a defensive back who had like 30 pass rushing snaps, Yeah. You had nothing. You had a big 0 out of the pass rush last year, and you can't have that because your coverage isn't good enough to handle that. And if you have Michael Williams back in a couple of games and Bosa plays well, it should be a very tough team. And I think that's the most fun outcome is a very fun 3-way battle for this division.
Okay. God, there are gonna be a lot of good games on this schedule. I'm excited to see them play.
This is a good point too. Yeah, it's like the same defensive scheme in Tennessee. Why would you cross train? Birdie says against a team. It's like, hey, you can see the same kind of looks. I guess different players. You're playing some different players. There'll be a couple good fights, and then you all get together, have a game at the end of it.
Yeah, it's a fair call. All right, man. Well, let's end this one. This was a short one. Look at us getting you in under an hour on the Niners.
That's good.
Didn't really disagree on them, I guess, even though you're above market. You're not betting them.
Ooh, I thought I had a chore.